I saw a graphic that said since the Iran war started, Epstein interest is down 95%. And we definitely gotta not let that happen. Donald J. Epstein. Well, look at this. All right, there's the big Zorro Ranch up there in New Mexico. So Melanie Stansberry announced breaking. The New Mexico DOJ has begun its on-the-ground investigation of Zorro Ranch today. And so there is, here's an overhead. Now this has been dug up already. This area has been dug up. We've seen on recent images. So I don't know. I feel like there really needs to be a group of investigators dispatched to the ranch itself. And they have to go in and do a significant forensic search of the immediate area surrounding the property. They need to see those basements, those former surveillance rooms. They should be doing, I feel like they should be doing a forensic search that includes opening up the walls and seeing if there were camera, is there fiber optic cable running through those walls? Were there really cameras in every room? Is that wiring still in there? What can they find out, especially in that basement area? This shit needs a deep investigation.
Zorro Ranch may seem like another day in the desert until you notice this big old house here and the town here that reveals a lot more than meets the eye. To give you an idea of how much property we're looking at here, this is a bird's eye of all the property that is owned out here. I am standing by Highway 41. This is right off the road. However, you might not recognize it if you're looking for Zorro Ranch Road. You will find Rancho San Rafael complete with a street name change, and a lot of remodels are being undertaken here. When you go up this road actually leads you to the town that is on this property, which,
by the way, it is from this gate to Zorro Ranch is 2.7 miles. Okay, the road, the winding road, it goes through a living area with stables, and there's a miniature ranch. There's another house with tennis courts and pools. There's the airstrip. I mean, it is significant, but 2.7 miles winding road to get all the way up to the property.
Which is called Ranch Central. Ranch Central, see the vehicles, they do change frequently. Usually they're red, but they've got some white ones now. This is a bird's eye of what you would find, the little town, if you went through this gate, which has its own infrastructure. There are different types of houses for different experiences. And keep in mind, this place never shut down. It was always being run. There were always people out here, whether it was before the sale or to the sale now. And a reminder about the people who bought it. These records are sealed and nobody knows who that actually is. An interesting new addition since the sale of this place are no trespassing signs that are everywhere.
Now, this was before we knew that Don Huffines bought it. Now, it's interesting to note, guys, that when you go from this gate, the first thing you hit is this little miniature Ranch Central or whatever, this little town area where those are the roads that then go off to the other property, to the flight strip, and eventually winding to the main residence. But we don't know who lives here. I mean, there are multiple houses, and they have their own infrastructure of a small village would have, certainly the same infrastructure on this property that the tiny town of Stanley, which is a town of 100 people, 7 miles away. So we don't know who lives here or who lived here that whole time after 2019. I mean, and there were armed guards and, and so on and so forth. So it's pretty, I don't know. It's just really curious. To know, who was managing this place and living there and what were they even doing, right?
That are everywhere. Now, the main house is up the way behind two more security gates, but we'll have to drive about 2 miles down the road to even kind of show you that. What you're looking at is the main house, and don't be fooled, it is miles away from the road. Also, to note, there is some digging equipment, and that has not been here when I was here previously. This was the house from a similar angle in November, and it's looking a little different over on this side. If you were a little closer, this is what you would see, and we're kind of over here in the picture. However, no one's seen that because, again, it wasn't investigated, and the only people allowed in by the estate were the realtors who sold it. You got it. Not when the state of New Mexico actually came by. They were told, no, we're not letting you in. And instead of doing anything about it, they just left. That was in 2019. I thought you said nobody ever went out there. They didn't. This was from the Land Commission. This was not from the police or any authority figure, because they wanted to investigate the land leases that were happening out here that are still being given to the new owners. Let's also keep in mind that the LLC that purchased the property out here is brand new and looks to be formed a couple weeks before this was purchased. Not to mention, nobody knows who owns it, and the record of the sale has been sealed, so nobody knows who bought it either.
See, that's 𝗣𝗢𝗍𝗍 and his wife. They created an LLC. They bought the property all secretly. And then I still, to this day, guys, I don't understand the timing of how we found out about this. It seemed a little weird that we literally found out about this just right before the comptroller election in Texas, which 𝗙𝗛𝗆𝗍 was running for. It almost seemed like they kept it under wraps and then they leaked it in order to create like a national profile for 𝗙𝗛𝗆𝗍, to all of a sudden, like, he got to go on all these podcasts and talk about Zorro and talk about the Christian camp he's building and to talk about his relationship with Donald Trump. Like, I literally think it was leaked as a campaign thing, man. It seemed really like a setup. The timing of it was really bizarre.
Probably my final, but one of my most important things to remind people about this place. If you were brought here and you wanted to get away, there was nowhere to go. Santa Fe is 30 miles that way, and Stanley, New Mexico is 10 miles that way. That's it for this one, but come back tomorrow and we're going to do an inside the house tour with the realtor video that is no longer up, but we can watch it here. I hope you're having a good day, and I'll...
Dude, that's insane though too, because Stanley, that's 10 miles away, guys, is only 100 people. So the nearest life off that ranch is 10 miles away, but it's 100 people. Stanley, New Mexico. Tiny. I mean, it is tiny. It is literally just a blip. That is wild. And there's a whole bunch of pictures of people at Zorro Ranch, all redacted. We don't know who any of these people are. If you have been to New Mexico, I've been through New Mexico a bunch of times. I've driven up, down, and sideways through New Mexico. I played Albuquerque on every single tour, and I often would go from Albuquerque through Santa Fe up to Colorado if you're going to Denver. Or there was a small town on the eastern side of the state called Clovis. That was a really small town, and I used to play indie shows in the Clovis area, both in Clovis, or there was a very popular thing to do is to rent a cabin. A lot of shows in eastern New Mexico, kids will rent cabins like out in the middle of nowhere, and they have shows. Indie bands will play there, and kids will come from like 100 miles, and everybody just parties. I mean, it's pretty neat, but to say it is like sparse out there is putting it mildly. It is very open. There's like a lot of wind, a lot of really rough elements. It's a very unforgiving like landscape. Okay, it is. It's beautiful though. The land of enchantment. It is. I mean, it's beautiful. It's just rugged. Like, that's the thing, okay? If Jeffrey Epstein was at Zorro Ranch and he brought you there onto that property, there was no way you were getting away, right? Anybody who was brought to that ranch was like a prisoner, okay? Essentially, you know, you're almost 3 miles off the road. That territory is completely inhospitable. If you know, there's no way that you were getting out of there, you know, like, you know what I mean? I mean, even if you made it to the road, where the fuck you gonna go, right? You know, where are you gonna go? You're not going anywhere.